Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Atlanta, Georgia, it's time for Coach the Coach Radio. Brought to you by the Business RadioX Ambassador Program, the no-cost business development strategy for coaches who want to spend more time serving local business clients and less time selling them. Go to brxambassador.com to learn more. Now, here's your host.
Lee Cantor here, another episode of Coach the Coach Radio, and this is going to be a good one. Today we have with us Alicia Cramer with AC International. Welcome, Alicia.
Thank you so much for having me, Lee.
Well, I'm excited to learn what you're up to. Tell us about your practice. How you serving folks?
Sure. Well, I've been doing this for over a decade now. I had actually started as a local brick and mortar hypnotherapy practice when I lived in Wisconsin. I'm in Arizona now, so I've officially snowbirded. And my background is very much in working at the subconscious level of the mind. What ended up happening was I've always been an aspiring entrepreneur. I failed numerous times before starting my hypnotherapy practice, and I decided I was going to finally do it right. And when clients were coming into work with me, the clients that I was getting like so fired up about working with were all business owners. And I knew I was onto something. So I actually started to transition away from the local brick and mortar hypnotherapy practice to working internationally with clients as a business mindset coach. And, as they say, the rest is kind of history. Of course, that, is a very, very, very short version of a long story. But now to this very day, I absolutely love working with high performance entrepreneurs and we all have mindset stuff. But when I am working with a client and I can hear those limiting beliefs come up, I have to help them shift that stuff. And my clients just, they just create such amazing things. And it's so fun to be on that journey with them.
Well, before we get too deep into things, tell us a little bit about let's define some terms like business mindset. What is in your mind like a business mindset as opposed to just a mindset?
Well, mindset is really a general term. So you can have a negative mindset and be a pessimistic person. You can be a positive and optimistic person. In a very general sense, that is mindset. Now, when we're talking more specifically about business mindset, there are certain beliefs that we as entrepreneurs tend to develop that help us to grow our businesses, to help us achieve more success. And business mindset is, that encompasses so much. I have clients that might be struggling with, maybe some old limiting beliefs about money. I have clients that might be reaching for a new level of success personally and professionally that they've never experienced before. And when our mind has no frame of reference for that new level, we need to do certain things to start to create that known reality at the subconscious level of the mind, because it's kind of like saying, I want to be a pilot, but you have no frame of reference as far as flying a plane is concerned. There are certain things that you need to go through, certain mental stages that you need to go through before you'll even begin the process of learning how to fly a plane, much less developing the proficiency as the type of pilot that you truly want to be.
Now, do you think that most people have a mindset that is, I would imagine there's three different areas they could be. One is neutral, where it's doing no harm and no foul, and it's just existing. One is positive, where it's helpful, and one is negative, where it's kind of sabotaging. do you find that people are amongst those three, or are they kind of going in and out of all three of those?
Well, we all have a mixed bag. So we can all look at our own lives, and there are some things that are working. There are some things that just we're not interested in. It's a non-issue for us. And we all have things that we want to change. So when I'm working with clients, we spend a lot of time focusing on where you're going. What do you want to create? And as we are reaching for those higher levels within ourselves, we are going to encounter our old limiting beliefs. When we bump up against those things, that is the time that we want to look at them and we want to change them. So we can all say we know people who are maybe stuck in kind of the victim-y mindset type of thing. And that's obviously not a very empowering state to be in. And we all know people who are more happy and optimistic. And again, those are very general terms because not everyone is 100% negative or 100% positive. And even some of the most successful people that I know and that I work with, who by other people's standards, it's like, wow, I could only in my wildest dreams, could I have that level of success or confidence? Believe me, they still have stuff that they are working through. It is always an ongoing process of shifting our limitations and up-leveling.
Now, do you find that your clients are people who are frustrated and want to get out of that frustration, or are they kind of high achievers who are just trying to achieve more?
So it's a little bit of both. And what I mean by that is most people do not invest in anything unless there is a need within them that needs to be filled. So oftentimes my clients are already fairly successful individuals. They've achieved quite a bit of success, but they feel like they are getting in their own way. They know that they want more. They feel called for more, and they are feeling that they're bumping up against their old stuff. So it's just part of the process, I think. Most people, when they are really high on life and they're really in the flow and they're really in the zone, that's not the time where they're going to say, boy, I really need some coaching. I really need some help. It's when they might be doing okay or even be doing pretty good, but they can feel there's some kind of internal resistance. They're bumping up against some type of self-imposed limitation. And that's typically when they'll come into my world.
And then in order to kind of even be aware of it, they have to have some level of self-awareness where they can say, hey, maybe to the outside world, it looks like I'm killing it, but I'm very frustrated and I think I could be doing more.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we all know of someone who has a bad habit. Maybe they smoke cigarettes. Maybe they don't eat very well. And we see what it is doing to them, but they're not self-aware in that sense where they may know this isn't good for me. I don't like the way that I feel, but they haven't really reached that place of internal conviction where now I'm committed to do something about it. I'm committed to change this. That is a sense of self-awareness. We have to get to that place within ourselves where we recognize this can change. I've had enough. I'm fed up. Enough is enough. Now let's do something about it.
So once they have that, when that light bulb goes on and it clicks, how does the part of the solution say, well, maybe I should call Alicia?
So oftentimes people, and maybe I'm not interpreting your question correctly, so feel free if you want me to clarify.
I'll clarify before we get started, is that, okay, say I have this kind of angst and I feel like that things are out of alignment. That's one level of awareness. Now, another level of awareness is to then say, let me seek out a solution, right? So then in a macro sense, I'm going to say I need help. So I'm going to be vulnerable and raise my hand and say I need help. And then I have to choose you. So how does kind of that path lead them to you? Are they kind of getting a referral from you? Like, how are they finding you in the world?
Gotcha. So I've had a lot of clients find me just by searching online. They're searching for a mindset coach, or they're searching for business hypnosis. I've been interviewed by Forbes, so people have found me through that article. I have been interviewed on a lot of different podcasts and radio shows, so sometimes people find me that way. I have a YouTube channel that I've had for many years that has some different hypnosis and meditations and things like that for business owners to deal with some of their mindset stuff. And so a lot of people find me that way. And then, of course, a lot of people are referrals from other clients. So once somebody has been working with me, oftentimes they know someone else who could benefit. And there is that vulnerability piece. And the more successful oftentimes somebody becomes, the more vulnerability there often is with raising their hand and saying, hey, I've got a problem. I'm struggling. I need some help. And that's why I offer a very confidential environment, a safe place. The more successful somebody becomes, the more there's kind of like this social piece, right? Where we don't want people to know that we've got unresolved stuff. And we have to honor that. We have to respect that. And creating that safe, confidential space for somebody where they can safely feel vulnerable, because we are really working with some of those deeper level insecurities. And that's why in many cases, they have not been addressed yet. The things that we are sometimes the most ashamed of are the very things that are holding us back from that next level of success. But we have to be willing to deal with them at some point if we really, truly want to grow.
So how do you change those kind of subconscious beliefs if they're subconscious? So by definition, they're not overtly conscious.
Well, the irony is when it comes up, and so let me just clarify by saying there is the unconscious, which is the stuff we're completely oblivious about. And then there is the subconscious. And that's like our conditioning. That's our programming. And it's kind of running the script of our life, so to speak. But we do bump up against things as we are going through life, so that, and we hear it all the time. We hear, you're on autopilot. Well, that basically just means that your subconscious mind is conditioned to do certain things. Like you get in your car and you drive to your office, and sometimes you won't even remember what took place on that drive, and yet you arrived there safely. And that is because the subconscious mind has been conditioned to know what to do. It knows how to drive the car. It knows how to operate that machinery. It knows what turns to make and when to put the blinker on. And when we see somebody who is, in our, off to the side, we know how to be alert and aware. So the subconscious mind is conditioned with all of that stuff. Now, we may not be aware that that is taking place because our conscious mind might be thinking about how we have to do all of these things later today, or this conversation we're not looking forward to having with, an employee or a client or whatever. But it is not so oblivious, whereas we can see it. If we are going through life and we're recognizing, I'm feeling frustrated, I'm feeling anxiety about this thing in my life or in my business, the programming, the conditioning is at the subconscious level of the mind. But once we've bumped up against it, once we've been triggered, we're not oblivious. We know that something is there. And we can see with more clarity what that is when we actually take the time to look at it objectively. And once we've done that, then we can use any number of different techniques to shift that programming at that subconscious level and create new, more empowering beliefs and habits and a different self-image, for instance, in certain circumstances that supports the changes that we are choosing to make.
Now, have you found that when you're dealing with the subconscious and subconscious beliefs specifically, that it's difficult for an individual to do this on their own, that they do need kind of a third party to help kind of make them aware and to give them the tools and resources to, kind of get to this new level?
It can be very helpful. So one of the things I always explain to my clients is you can do it yourself. You can. But there is definitely an advantage to having someone be there to help guide you through the process, because we can't always see what's right in front of us. And we certainly can't see objectively when we're stuck in a disempowering story. Our limitations can seem so incredibly justifiable. We have so many years of evidence to show us where, see, it just doesn't work. That just doesn't change. That's just the way that person is. And we get so stuck in that story that the thoughts that can actually help to break us out of that cannot occur to us. There's just, if we're talking about energy, and I love to talk about energy and about some of those kind of universal principles like the law of vibration. If somebody is in the problem, we feel it, right? We feel the physical sensation of the heaviness and the negativity. You can feel what frustration feels like. You can feel what disempowerment feels like. When we are in that state, the solution is not in that vibrational space. The solution is on a higher vibrational plane, so to speak. Even the vibration of relief, the physical feeling of relief is different than when you're feeling disempowered. So to be able to see something that could give us relief doesn't appear to us when we're so focused on the problem, so focused on our disempowerment, so focused on our old story. So having someone who is objective and can hold that higher vibrational space for us makes a huge difference. And that's why so many people gravitate towards mentors and towards coaches, because that individual is able to hold that space for us and help point out things that we can't see when we are so immersed in our problem.
And isn't also another benefit of working with somebody else just the speed that it'll take less time when there's another person kind of holding you accountable, making you aware of things that maybe you have a subconscious bias against, and just being there and helping you change those maybe negative habits or beliefs. Doesn't that
Absolutely.
kind of accelerate the process? I would imagine it would take much less time having a third party sit there and see things that are obvious to them that may not be so obvious to the client.
Absolutely. On a practical level, look at somebody who is learning a sport. If you tried to teach yourself baseball by reading books, or even watching maybe a couple of videos, like some tutorials, versus working with an experienced baseball player who you can see and feel the subtle nuances in the way that they perform, doing the various activities that are essential pieces of that sport, is going to rapidly accelerate your ability to learn how to play baseball.
Now,
so on a very practical level, we see it all around us.
Now, in your work, can you share a story? Don't name names, but maybe explain the backstory of what this client was going through, where they were having struggles, and you were able to kind of come in and help them get to a new level?
Sure. So I'll use one example that's coming to mind is a particular client who owns an equipment company and is doing, quite well and in expansive mode. The company is growing and had a situation where an employee had gotten into the company bank account and had essentially basically stole over $100,000. And there was a lot of trauma there, a lot of trauma around and fear around money. And a lot of us could only imagine. I personally have not had an experience quite like that, but we can all imagine what it could feel like to be in that type of situation where that money is gone and he wasn't getting it back. And many years had gone by, or not years, but months had gone by. And he knew that he had to do something because the fear and the trauma were very adversely affecting him. And we worked through that relatively quickly to get some very, very immediate relief. And then it was a process of continuing to build upon that new mindset, that feeling of confidence with money, because there are so many triggers there. Even having a conversation with a bank would trigger his old anxiety. And that particular client worked with me for many, 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 many years. And the growth has been incredibly phenomenal, going from one location that was in growth mode to now he has multiple locations and just continues to reach for new elevated levels of success. That's what's possible when we let go of our fears, our doubts, our insecurities, our limiting beliefs. The things that we're feeling called to do become possible for us.
Well, good stuff, and congratulations on all the success. If there is someone out there that wants to get a hold of you and learn more about your practice, maybe get on your calendar, what's the website?
Website is aliciacramer.com. That is ALICIACRAMER.com. There is a button that you can click to schedule a complimentary consultation, and I am absolutely happy to support anyone. It is one of those things where we want it to be of value. So even if it's not the right fit to continue on working together one-on-one, I always guarantee you will get value out of it, whether that is a mindset shift or helping point you in the right direction.
Well, Alicia, thank you again for sharing your story. You're doing important work and we appreciate you.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on.
All right, this is Lee Cantor. We'll see you all next time on Coach the Coach Radio.